So I want to talk about the most important thing that I'm bringing back from Japan to Hawaii. I know it's not food or clothes or shoes. We're bringing back those things, by the way. But it's more like this grace towards Japanese visitors that I never really thought about before. Because to be honest, this trip has been a struggle for me personally because I'm so lost sometimes. I felt so lost when I was in the train station, just trying to get around and reading signs. And so I wanted to share three experiences that I've recently had in Japan that really made me think about this. And we're staying at this beautiful hotel near Shizuoka in Japan. The view is amazing. You could see Mount Fuji there, but because it's raining today, you can't really do that. But it's just an amazing, amazing view. Okay, so is this straight? I feel like is the floor crooked or is it just the tripod? I think the floor is crooked. All right, so let me talk about the first experience that I had. We decided to buy some glasses here in Japan, which overall was a pretty amazing experience. Process was amazing. The glasses were done in about an hour. But as I was trying to get my prescription for the glasses, the person helping me didn't speak English. And so we had to use a translator, which is not a big deal. So I would speak something and then it would translate to Japanese, and then the person helping me would speak something. And obviously that made the process very, very slow. But as he was testing my vision, he said something into the little translator and he showed it to me and it said, "Are you feeling inadequate?" And it made me kind of laugh because I'm not sure exactly what he was trying to say, but I definitely felt inadequate trying to get glasses. Like something as simple as making sure, like, well, when they test your vision, they're like, okay, is this one better or this one better? You know, A or B or one or two, and they flip the little glass pieces. That was a struggle to try and figure out. And even when we were done and he was trying to explain, okay, which lens would you like? And I was like, I don't know. I couldn't read anything on the paper. And he was pointing to me on different ones. So I took a picture and I had to use Google Lens to translate what that my options were because I had no idea what he was talking about. Basically, the confusion was on the thickness of the lenses because my vision is fairly bad. I needed to get thick lenses. And I was worried that the thick lenses wouldn't fit in the frames that I picked because a lot of Japanese eyeglass frames are fairly thin. But it did end up working out pretty great. But when I read the translation, "Do you feel inadequate?" Yeah, I felt kind of inadequate trying to communicate with someone that I just want to buy a pair of glasses. I don't know how these Japanese tourists do it when they come to Hawaii because we don't really have a lot of things that are in Japanese beyond Waikiki. I'm glad that their English is pretty good. I'm glad that they can read English a lot better than I can read Japanese. What's even more challenging is that they have to deal with a lot of Hawaiian words that even some locals can't even pronounce properly. And so how some of these Japanese people do it, I'm just blown away. Hey, you okay? Second instance was I was trying to buy a pen for my dad. We were in this department store and there were all these wonderful pens and, you know, they were ranging from different prices. And I wanted to get my dad a pen as a gift, maybe spend about $100. And so I was looking at all the pens and, you know, there's like, I don't know, hundreds of pens. And I was trying to talk to the guy, the salesperson, and say, hey, I want a pen that looks like this pen, like a ballpoint pen that twists, but I want it to be made in Japan because they had some that were made in France and other countries. And I figure, what's the point of buying a pen in Japan if it's made in a different country? So as a gift, I want it to be special for my dad, a made in Japan kind of pen. And he could not understand what I was saying. So I ended up having to write it down. And he could kind of understand what I was saying because I want to spend a certain amount of money. The first pen that he showed me was about $55. And I was like, nah, I want it to be more expensive, like maybe around $100. So I was trying to figure out what to say and how to write it. And it just wasn't going anywhere. And it's kind of too bad because I couldn't make the purchase. I really wanted to buy the pen there for my dad because there were some nice pens. There were so many pens that I couldn't figure it out for myself. And in that time, I wish my wife was off somewhere else. And so it was just me looking around. And I wish that I could have just communicated something very simple. What this makes me think of is when Japanese tourists come to Hawaii and they're ready to buy and make purchases, something as simple as just trying to buy a pen is extremely difficult. I know a lot of Japanese visitors, their primary reason to coming to Hawaii is to be able to shop, right? They want to get a lot of good deals because for them, there's less tax as well as just overall it's cheaper. I remember we went to Tiffany in Japan and we looked at some of the jewelry versus going to like Al Moana, and some of the jewelry markups in Japan was probably around 40%. Like it was fairly high and I just couldn't believe that. And I'm just thinking, if you get out of Waikiki, where I know a lot of Waikiki stores, like they have salespeople that do speak Japanese, but like if you get out of Waikiki and you're going to maybe somewhere like Waikele or even like North Shore, if a local person can't speak Japanese, it's extremely difficult to make that transaction, especially when you're talking about clothing or different things with sizes and things. It's just so difficult to do. And the third experience I want to talk about was getting my haircut. Thanks for noticing, by the way. But yeah, just want to talk about my experience getting my haircut in Japan. It was one of the things that my wife really wanted me to do. And so we went to this hair salon and I got my haircut. Fortunately, the guy spoke English a little. He was really nice and very conversational. But man, that was a really tough haircut to sit through. It was kind of awkward only because like sometimes the hairstylists, they want to talk to you, like to make small talk, and it's sort of like customer service. But we just couldn't really have a conversation. I was trying to ask him why he wanted to be a hairdresser. Like, why did he want to cut hair? And he thought I was talking about him going to hair salon school or like barber school. But eventually he figured out that I had asked him, like, why'd you want to become a hairstylist? And he said he originally wanted to become a middle school teacher, but he just couldn't make the grades. And so he thought he would just cut hair. And he was talking about his mom in the Philippines and and how all of that went. And it was just, it's kind of a tough situation. Even when I was trying to pick out what kind of hairstyle I wanted, that was pretty difficult. I asked for a recommendation and then he had this book of like Japanese haircuts, like all these different Japanese models. And then he was like, okay, I think this one. I was like, okay, sounds good. And so we ended up going with this haircut, which I think looks pretty nice. It's a little short on the sides and a little longer on the top, and hopefully it'll last me a good while. I wish you could see this view outside, and I wish you could see Mount Fuji. It's way off in the distance over there, but the clouds are there and it's a pretty rough, cloudy day. Let me just say that there's nothing quite like walking around in a new country where you can't really read the signs and you have no idea where any of the directions are. Japan is really good on signs though, I will give them that. A lot better than Hawaii. Like when I'm in a department store, at least I can find the elevators and the restrooms. So again, the thing I'm bringing back on this trip is a better appreciation for Japanese visitors, the things that they have to deal with when they come to Hawaii, because it's pretty tough. Our signage is not very good for them, and considering they're one of the most important markets that we have in Hawaii, you think we do a little bit better. And maybe you grew up like me in Hawaii where, you know, you would see Japanese tourists and you hear their broken English and their thick Japanese accent, you kind of laugh and make fun. But man, looking back, that's so foolish. You know, like they're at least trying and their English is way better than my Japanese is and probably will ever be. And so when these Japanese visitors approach me now in Hawaii and they ask for directions or they ask a question, I'm gonna make sure to slowly explain and give them that grace and patience, because being here in Japan, I know what it can feel like when you are actually lost and you don't know where to go. And this is something that I wouldn't have experienced if I didn't come to Japan. It's something that we just don't think about, especially in Hawaii or the US, because everything is accessible through language. But when you travel abroad, it's totally different. Even with Japan and their signage where it is in English, it's still difficult to understand. Every time I go to the bathroom, I have no idea what the signs mostly say, and I'm just sort of guessing and what I'm supposed to do. And whenever I go to a restaurant and I'm looking at the menu, most of the time I'm just going based on pictures and not even going based on description, because I can't read anything. And so yes, while I'm bringing back a lot of amazing things from Japan, a lot of material things, I think this is a lot more important and something that will last longer than any shoes or food or clothing that I'll bring back to Hawaii. You ready to go sleep? Okay. So thanks for watching and aloha.